Welcome to Reality After Show coverage of the Challenge Season 40 Battle of the Eras, Episode 15, I think. It's a lot of episodes. I'm your host, Dan Montchal, joined, as always, Paulie Calafiore. Paulie, we're back after a week off, and this was an episode. I don't really know what much else to say other than that.
What season felt like it was longer? Final Reckoning or this?
So I think from a fan's perspective, the only reason why Reckoning felt longer was because it didn't end with an elimination at the end of every episode.
Okay.
But this is getting up there. We're starting to drag out, and especially with the way that the format is now, it's like, okay, we know who's going to go into elimination every week, and you can probably predict what's going to happen.
Not my job. I just want to preface this by saying it's not my job. But as somebody who competed on the Final Reckoning season and then watched how fans reacted to it as it was playing out extremely long and being 90-minute episodes, and then seeing the complete 180 when War of the Worlds 1 happened and it was 1 hour episodes and it was daily chaos elimination, and the feedback from the fans being positive to that. And once again, on those seasons, you didn't know who was getting thrown into elimination.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was dual format, essentially, two separate kind of dual format ways where if you voted for somebody on Final Reckoning, and they went in, they could choose out of anybody that voted for them, which I thought was a phenomenal twist to kind of be like, oh, you got the balls to vote for somebody, you got to have the balls to go into elimination if they go down there, because you can't just be a weak team and skate by, because if you vote for somebody, the team down there is going to be like, that's the weakest team. They voted for us. Let's take them out. Same thing with War of the Worlds 1. Somebody goes down to elimination. They can't really pick the people in the tribunal that put them down into elimination, but they could look at everybody on the stand and basically be like, this elimination could be this. I'm picking this person because I want to win and come back. And once again, I think that those seasons like really, really, really had a formula dialed in from a twist standpoint, and then they tweaked it a little bit from like the length of the show standpoint and the format of how the episode played out. So once again, it's not my job, but I'm just going based off of what I experience in real time of fans' feedback of those seasons. And what it did on those seasons is the weaker teams and weaker players went home early. And then you were only left with like the strongest of the strong. Now, I will say, with it being season 40, there was not really a weak person on this cast, but it's still not really giving that unpredictability, because it's like, even with tonight's episode, okay, well, we know that there's a good shot of it being a Bananas Angels matchup in an elimination. Okay, well, now if you're a smart person watching the show, you're like, all right, if that matchup happens, well, now Bananas is guaranteed to go to the final, basically. Because unless he comes in last place on the next daily, which, he came in last place today, so it could happen. All he's got to do is not come in last, and boom, he's in the final. And now we're just waiting to see who goes into elimination and who punches their ticket to the final.
I get why they used the targets in the beginning of the game, because there were so many people and it made sense. But it almost feels like when they got to the individual portion of the game, they should have dropped the targets. Because I don't get why it's good for drama, good for ratings, the TV show at all, if you're just going into every episode essentially being like, one of these three people are going home. Sure, you could come in last, but we haven't seen that person come in last that wasn't a target and go home. So we've known, all right, it's this person, or this person every time. Or when it's someone like Jordan who was there. Like, it's probably not him. So, it's like Josh or Cory.
Well, it just would have been interesting to see. I agree with you on the team aspect of things. I think that the targets were such a good twist because it not only caused chaos and animosity on the team,
Mm.
but if you did go down into elimination and won because your team came in last place, and you could go against the other two teams, but you win, you're now automatically causing chaos because you're the one picking the targets on the teams for
Mm.
the next one. So that created such a space for so many variables and tangibles to go, and there wasn't really a way to strategize your way out of, because you can't control, like, if the targets are the
Mm.
targets, you can't sit there, and if you're in an alliance, be like, well, let's make it so that this elimination matchup happens. You just couldn't do that because you would either be sabotaging your own team, like if you wanted to get rid of somebody on your own team, purposely coming in last place, you know, and the rest of it, like, you couldn't know which team would actually win. Like, if you planned for one of the other three teams to win and they just didn't perform, well, then that shoots that plan in the foot. So there was no way to strategize your way out of it. And I feel like with keeping the targets at this point in the individual game, like you mentioned, it takes away that element of, guns are blazing, right? Because, like, let's say, um, Bananas wins the daily, and you've got two people from the one side of the house, which was Michelle, Olivia, Cara, Tori, um, fucking Cory, um, down there. Well, they come out, and, like, what if he was the only person, like, left that they want to get out on the men's side? Now they have to target their alliance, and vice versa. Like, if somebody from their side won the daily, then and somebody from Banana's alliance is going in, well, now you know for a fact that they can't immediately go after the person that might be safe, which could not be Bananas. And it takes
Yeah.
away from, like, that aspect of things. And I think when you saw Banana's initial reaction when it went to individual and he won the elimination and couldn't pick Tori, that I feel like is the reaction of everybody watching how the singles are playing out right now.
And it's just been disappointing because since we've went to the individual format, there hasn't been a good chamber deliberation, whatever you want to call it. It's all been straightforward. You knew exactly who was going in, and part of it's the targets, part of it is, I don't know. I just don't think that it should be the opposite sex always picking who's going in because it gets rid of some of the drama. Like, maybe we'd see more drama if you did have more of an impact. Like, if the guys had more of an impact on the other guys, like, maybe Bananas could actually rally something together to be like, what are we doing? Let's get out Jordan. But at this point, we're in the game. It's not
Right.
beneficial for the women whatsoever to target Jordan.
At,
So why
at
would they
all.
do it?
At all. At all. Exactly. So you at least know every time Jordan going down, or sorry, girls going down, no matter who wins, if they don't need to pick Jordan, they won't pick Jordan, right? It just
Mm-hmm.
so happens Jordan got picked this episode because Bananas was the only other guy. But realistically, if you want to look at it, Bananas and Jordan are the most valuable guys in terms of keeping people safe. Although, you know, Kylan's been showing out a bit.
Yeah, Kylan has been doing well, but so if we're going back, start at the beginning of the episode. I have a question for you, Paulie, not as a challenger, but someone who is clearly close, with Cara. We come back into the episode, and Cory, hugs her, and we're officially number one. How do you feel knowing his track record of how he protects his number one?
I got to say, man, Cory calling you as number one is almost like a death wish. We all saw what happened with Amanda as his number one. So, usually when Cory picks a number one, it's either a signing of death for his number one or for himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's he may have given himself a kiss of death, but I'm hoping that he is not giving Cara the kiss of death here. I mean, we all also know the history of TYB. They never really had their shit together.
They
Like they were always thrown into eliminations first against each other. Finally, they figured it out a little bit, like with Hunter kind of being the breakthrough guy, with Final Reckoning, and then War of the Worlds 1 being solid performances, final appearances, one of them being a win. But up until like the Total Madness era, where like Nelson and Cory have made it further, like they didn't really have their shit figured out.
No, one of them would always go home early. And it's
Usually two out of the three.
yeah, you were never getting all of them. Either
Yeah.
Cory or Nelson, what it's felt like until Hunter made that run, would make it to the end, and it was like, Cory or Nelson in a final.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Congrats on third.
Hunter made it deep on Invasion.
Yeah.
Um,
Cory and Nelson made it to the finals in Invasion, but lost CT.
yep, right. They all made it. They all made it deep. Dirty 30.
Only Hunter made it deep because Cory
Yep.
got knocked out and Nelson got thrown out.
Yeah, only Hunter made it deep. Then we don't see Hunter on Vendettas, but once again, Cory goes out first to Nelson in a soccer kicking thing, and then Nelson went home shortly after.
Mhm.
And then 32, we saw how that played out. They finally kind of got their shit together a little bit, but Cory comes in, slams Tony, gone. Nelson and Shane, when they finally have to go into eliminations, gone. Hunter and Ashley came in, halfway through, made it to the end. So, there's always going to be the argument for that. But, it's almost like it's always been between Cory Nelson and Hunter. There's been one brain between the three of them.
It's not a good
And I
brand.
love them. I love those
Yeah.
guys. I love them to death. Great athletes, not the brightest up top.
Well, I mean, Cory does. He has something to play for. If he gets to the final and loses, he can break that
Oh,
tie
what's
with
he playing?
Leroy.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
because he's
I
tied
thought
with
you were going to say
Leroy
it's
for
kids.
no. Well, we know that, but right, Leroy made that run on All Stars 4, so they're tied for the most finals losses. Cory gets there, he can break that tie with Leroy.
If he loses,
Yeah, he's not winning.
okay. Well, there is something to play.
Most
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, when you're kind of looking at it as is, as much as I would want to see Cory win with the guys remaining in the house, all of them left are better at puzzles than he is.
Yeah, I feel like so many of these guys, and even a lot of the women too that are there, they actually don't necessarily want to be partnered up. But Cory is the one, like, he's the glaring red flag that I think for him to win, he needs to be in a partner or team situation simply because those puzzles have always been his
Yeah,
kryptonite.
he would have to be with Tori or Kara or Michelle.
Hmm.
Those seem to be the ones who would excel at puzzles the most. Although Kara didn't do the best today on the last puzzle that she had, but it happens. You're in a
TJ's
dark
face,
tunnel.
it'll throw you off.
Yeah, TJ's
You
fake.
just get lost in those eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you, even some of the like most veteran vets still make the mistake. Because even Bananas made the mistake that I don't think he ever would have made 10 years ago of not looking at all the sides of a cube before he starts putting a puzzle together. Um, I feel like that would have been the first thing that I checked for would be like, okay, let me look at the cubes. Oh, some of them are double sided. Well, let me put the ones in that aren't double sided and see what that shape makes. And then be
Hmm.
like, okay, there's some semblance of a face. There's three pieces with double sides. Which sides are the ones that fit in here?
Well, we needed that scene because TJ dying in the background while he couldn't figure it out was probably the best part of
Oh,
the
that was
daily
hilarious. That was
visually.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he couldn't figure it out because that was probably one of the one of the funniest pieces of the episode. I think the rest of the episode was a little bit in poor taste on the Bananas Angels in terms of like, one side is trying to have a good time, trying to have fun. The other side's like kind of a clique sticking together, like being mean, talking shit. Somehow feet got brought up again in this episode. Like I don't understand how feet are making more of a cut this season than Casey. It's the craziest thing in the fucking world, dude. Like Casey was on half the season, and
Was she
feet
though?
have been mentioned more than Casey all season long.
Amanda's little cameo as they were going through the tunnel, when Tori was going through the tunnel, is more than Casey was really on this season. It's just Bananas is just going through his checklist. He's like, all right, this is an episode. Make sure we get 6, 7 mentions of feet, and make sure I take my dig at Kara, and we can wrap this up for the day.
Oh, dude, they're coming out of nowhere. I'm like, this kid. I'm like, she's just trying to have fun.
It's a
She's
requirement, I guess.
dressing up like Carl, giving extremely awkward lap dances. Just for okay, guys. I know you think that it's probably wild in our household, wild in the bedroom. But let me assure you, okay, that there's only one stripper in this household, and that's this guy. Okay, 'cause I've never seen women's hips so tight in a dance. But technically, she wasn't. She wasn't a woman. She was Carl. So
Yeah.
the tight hips, they fit. They fit. You know what I mean?
She was just the opening act to, lead to Tori/Devin.
Was she Devin or was she Dave?
I think it said Devin there, but I'm pretty sure that would have been Dave.
Yeah, I was gonna say because Devin doesn't have a beard
Or an afro.
or an afro, but I can understand if that was the only afro you had at hand to want to do it. But yeah, it was. I thought that was once again one of the other funniest parts of the episode.
Mhm.
What was that? It was very well done. I think Michelle needed that.
No, she needed that, and yeah, it's just weird when you took that and you have the Bananas Angel side of things that's talking shit. They're like, pitiful people having fun over there. Feet
You know,
in, guys. Like,
I
no, feet not in.
I my memory could be fuzzy, but I remember a lot of backlash coming somebody's way who didn't join a fun party that other people in the house were having together. And I can't remember the names of the people who were saying that anybody who does that is just a really miserable, awful person for not joining a fun party with people that they didn't want to be around on that season for, that person's reasons. I can't remember who got the backlash, and I can't remember who was kind of given the backlash from the sidelines.
Oh, I mean, it definitely had nothing to do with an engagement party. That much I know.
Had nothing to do with an engagement party. But yeah, no, it's just funny to me that, Bananas is the one who is being the Kara of War of the Worlds 2 when Bananas was one of the ones saying that she was miserable for doing that on War of the Worlds 2. So if you watch the challenge for long enough, like you almost see the hypocrisy of it all.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure he was justified in not wanting to party with people that he was aligned against in the game and probably was having a rough time against. But as a grown person who now can see things from both sides, I can sit there and be like, hey, Johnny, I understand why you didn't want to join the party, buddy. Doesn't mean that you're a miserable person. Doesn't mean that you're terrible. Just means maybe you were just aligned against those people and you just didn't want to be around them while they were having fun, and your alliance members were going into an elimination, and you might have had some flare-ups with them all season. The nature of the game. And I just want everybody to know that the nature of the game has nothing to do with people's character outside of it.
Nor should it. I mean, yeah. Now, I didn't even think of that full circle moment, but I can see why he would have been a little bit more dialed into that one than I was.
I'm watching this season play out, and I have two thoughts that go in my head. I really want to beat the living hell out of Theo for eliminating me early, because as I'm watching this season play out, I'm like, wow, this would have been a completely different outcome of things if I was there. And once I went individual, I would have pretty much been safe for a good amount of the time. But I'm just watching a lot of things back being like, wow, I feel like I'm watching in the Twilight Zone of like in real time if you were to take what's happened through the course of this season and put it through the, lens of War of the Worlds 1 and War of the Worlds 2, it's like classic playbook of like kind of everything having full circle moments. And it's been very enlightening for me.
Well, if you were there, maybe you could have posed another narrative because as we were going through the daily, all that we heard was Bananas is such a threat. I don't want to see him in a final. Or Kylan, he's a threat now. I don't want to see him in a final. While Jordan is right there, essentially just like
Hanging
wise
out.
people. Yeah, not like guys. We know that the best endurance challenger we've ever seen on the show is one elimination away from getting to the final and beating all of us, right? Like, we're no one paying attention to that.
Yeah, we just possibly have like maybe the greatest challenger of all time just hanging out here. He's at this point he's won 4 out of like what, 9 seasons he did or 10 seasons he
Mm-hmm.
did. Is this
Yep.
his 10th season or his
I
ninth?
believe this is his 10th.
Okay.
So if he did this, it would be going for 50% win rate and 70% final percentage.
Yeah, so like right now at this point he's just below a 50% win rate and he's just below a 70% finals appearance rate. And at this point, if he makes the final, he's winning, guys. And like this last elimination is the only chance that you guys have taken all season for him to potentially go into an elimination. It's just crazy to me. Although I don't know if he was trying to make a pun, but when they were doing the whole montage about like Tori becoming a badass and having confidence and how he's so proud of her, and he's like, I'd like to think that I had a hand in that. I was like, does he know what he's doing? Does he know what the fuck he's doing? Like, or did he just kind of say that off the cuff?
Hope that was planned. But it just made me laugh because with all of it, because the man just posted an Instagram video an hour ago or hour and a half
Oh,
ago
no.
where he wanted to talk about some of the things that have come up that he wanted to address from podcast interviews and stuff like that. But as he was talking about it, he referred to the challenge of, yeah, why wouldn't I want to come back season after season when I treat it as my own personal ATM? His words. And he's right. That's what the challenge has been for him. His own personal ATM.
It is 100% his own personal ATM. I don't know why he went into a rant of like, why wouldn't I want to come back every single season?
Well, he was for that part of it, he was talking about, he was discussing the Bananas Devon of it all, of what happened. There was a deal, did Bananas say he needed to leave early? The two sides of the story. And Jordan's stance on it was simply just saying, no, like if you're going to come, like you should plan on being there the entire time or what's the point? And he's like, that's the reason why I do take seasons off is because I can't commit to being there the entire time. And he's like, don't you think I'd come back to more seasons if I didn't have other things going on and other interests? Because it's my own personal ATM.
That is probably one of the most savage things that anybody could say. But I mean, he does have a point. Like that. I mean, he sums up a lot of my feelings in very short, succinct words. Because it's like I feel like too many people are just collecting a paycheck
Mm-hmm.
at this point, and they look at it like a vacation. Mainly the OGs. I'm just saying. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, but please stop trying to make the challenge like an easier, dulled down version of like what it once was. Like, stop trying to treat this as a vacation. Stop trying to treat this as a paycheck. Because there's people who would go on these shows and make sure that like they were giving it their all, like every single time. Or as Jordan likes to point it out, like I'm not coming here just to collect my guarantee. I'm coming here to win because it's my own personal ATM.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it that they were talking about threats there, and they're just like, is no one? And it wasn't until finally at the end where Cory was like, you know what? It's right. I probably should take Jordan out in elimination because that's the only shot I have of winning this game. It's like, finally, Cory. Like it took you 16 episodes, but like we're getting there.
Yeah, like I mean, listen, I didn't know, um, the history of it all, right? Because you have seen, once again, you've seen Leroy make a lot of finals, you've seen Cory
Mm.
make a lot of finals, you've seen a lot of people make a lot of finals, but the fact that the last time there was a black male winner was Nehemiah.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize that.
That was a little crazy and eye opening for me. Um, and I'm like sitting here being like, yeah, that does make sense. How every season do we just happen to let some of the best people ever play the game always make it to the end?
And it's
Right? Like,
crazy that that always happens on the men's side, but not the women's side. Like somehow on the women's, we find a way to
right.
have a constant shuffle up and chaos where they just let Bananas, Jordan, CT make it to the end all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Kara has the most final appearances out of any female.
Kara does, yeah, yeah.
Right.
There's no one who has more than her, so she's
Right.
the only lone exception that was making all these finals. But other than
Exactly.
that, there is no one.
The lone exception for making all these finals, but only has 3 wins, right? Which just goes to show you that the women's side, they kind of it could be anybody's game. But
Mm.
on the men's side, like really when you kind of look at it from a bigger picture, um, you know, CT's got 5, Johnny's got 7,
Mhm.
Jordan's got 4. So just off of that, those numbers alone, you got 16 seasons that have happened in this time span of like I don't know what 20 years,
Mhm.
right? Or whatever, however many
Yeah,
years it could be. It could be less than 20, right? But that's 16 final wins by just those guys alone. Now sprinkle in like, Wes, who's got what, 2 wins? Or is he
he's 3 now with All
he's
Stars
got
3. He has 3.
okay, that's right, because he got All Stars 3, so we count those. All Stars 3. So that puts it as, you take Terrell, who's probably one of the other names that we talk about for Mount Rushmore's there. He's got 4, right? So now it's like there's really not that much shift around between the guys. Like there's a bunch of one-offs that have come within the last like 20 seasons, but not many, right? You got
Yeah,
Turbo, you got Hunter, you got Rogan,
Zach,
Zach.
Zach and Frank when they won, and I mean Zach was second to Kara and Vendettas, so like he's been right there. But yeah, you're right. It's been. I mean, Hunter was probably the last like true like, huh? That's weird that Hunter is a quote unquote champ.
It's
Because
crazy.
everyone else, because even Zach, when Zach San Diego came in and they won, and sure he only has that one win, but he showed that he was a powerhouse right off the bat. So it was like, oh, okay, like we know what to expect when Zach's on a season. Where I think Hunter was the last time where it was like, oh, that's weird that he won. Where we have a lot of those on the female side, like not shots at anyone, but when Amber B comes in and wins was like double agents. Didn't see that coming. Even Jenny with Total Madness. Casey, like, it seems like that happens every other season. Where with the guys, it's just same old group.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely it's something to ponder. Now here's the hypothetical question that we ask, right? So now knowing these facts, um, when these guys come onto seasons, why are they not targeted immediately? And if they are targeted immediately, why do they act shocked that they get targeted immediately? And I'll say I don't really think Jordan pretends to be shocked if he gets targeted immediately.
Oh, are we talking about the other guy with the podcast who cries that he gets that he's him against the world from minute one in the house every season he's on?
I mean, the one who's trying to make it seem like the fact that there's 3 girls against him makes him the victim. It's like, oh man, I
Yeah.
can't believe that Tori, Michelle, and Carla are against me, man. It's like, dude, you're a dude. You know
Oh,
what I mean? Like, bro, like I understand if like it was, out the gate, if it was, CT, Jordan, Darrell, um, fucking I don't know, throw in like Devin, Corey, and myself for like
yeah,
old rivals
yeah.
purposes. I can understand if that's what you were stacked against. immediately coming in, and you're just like, "Yo, everybody's fucking yeah, like yeah, dude, that sucks. You can be the victim there, even if just like three of those people. If it was just Jordan, CT, and Darrell were doing it, be like, yeah, I got fucking Jordan, CT, and Darrell coming after me. Like this is bullshit. I'd be like, yeah, dude, that is bullshit. That sucks. I feel for you. But if you're gonna sit there and be like, yeah, so like fucking Michelle, Tori, and Cara are coming after me, like I'm the victim. I'm gonna be like, bro, they're chicks. Like you could still beat the men and keep yourself safe every daily.
I mean, my personal favorite is the fact for someone who he wants to act as if he was never part of the Vacation Alliance, and now that it's over, he's essentially just handing out coupons to come visit him at Rumble. Be like, "Do you want to be friends? You want to be friends next season?" You got that invite.
The Rumble Alliance, dude.
Yeah.
I'm in it. Signed, sealed, and delivered, baby. Like part of the deal is if people start ganging up on Bananas, I got to step in and bring the heat to me. That's part of the rules. I'm in the Rumble Alliance now, so
You have to be the new Leroy and dive on the grenade.
if he comes into a season and there's three girls targeting him, guess who's got to take that target off his back? Your boy here. All right, and if all of a sudden all of his enemies start coming back together, like if TYB finally is all there together, and Devin's there, and Wes is there, and all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Let's create a former Bananas Rivals Alliance and fucking take him out. All right? Guess who's taking the target off of Bananas and putting him on me? This guy. All right? I'm going to be like, whoa, 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 guys, listen. I know we've never personally had any beef, but I'm part of the Rumble Alliance, so now your beef is with me, motherfucker.
What a deal. What a deal.
What a fucking listen. Some would say it's a little bit it's very selfish on my end to want to take that burden of like if the heat's on somebody else, put it on me. Some would say it's stupid because like, dude, you don't even have a win yet. He's got 7. But in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Whatever keeps him from feeling victimized for being considered the greatest in the challenge
Just
world. I'm there to take that burden of greatness off of him and be like, you know what, guys, listen, he's got 7 wins and you should target him. But I don't want him to feel bad about it. So target me, guy with no wins, gone home early the last 2 seasons. Target me because I can handle the burden of being a 7-time champ.
oh yeah, you have to go straight turbo. You won't copy my walk.
That's it, dude. Like, actually, like if he comes in last and the rules are like last place goes in, I'm gonna be like, as I'm about to cross the line, I'll be like, yo, TJ, who's last, bro? Is it Bananas? It is? Ah, shit. All right, I'm not gonna cross this finish line yet.
Down.
I gotta wait. Let everybody fucking go. Right? I'll come in last and I'll go into the elimination. Sorry, Teach, but like, make sure you film me stopping at this line so it doesn't look like I just like fucking. Do you need me to lay down? So that it looks like I kind of like fucking stumbled and tripped and fell, and he like caught me from behind. Like, how do you want this to go?
Well, what I can say is you hypothetically talking about taking the fall for Bananas, way more entertaining than that elimination that we just watched. So,
I mean,
poor Aviv, I give her all the heart in the world, but come on, that one didn't need to be two commercial breaks.
That didn't need to be 2 commercial breaks long. Like they literally could have just been like, we all know how this is going to turn out. It's going to be fast. And then just like make it be done. And like, I'm sure there had to have been an argument in the stands somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially when Bananas didn't get picked as a target, like he definitely had to have made it known to everybody that like he's good, like he's safe and everything. And I would have much rather seen the chaos in the stands than, seeing something that even gave us a idea that Aviv had a shot.
I feel bad for Aviv because I felt like she was coming in, had a great opening episode, and then she was reduced just to either nothing, plantar fasciitis, or feet, and I feel comfortable saying that she's more than that, and she deserves more than that, and She deserves better.
I mean, listen. I'm gonna do my best because I do think Aviv is a sweetheart, and I do like Aviv. I like Aviv a lot. Um, but the last time you were on the show was, did she say 12 years ago?
It was Fresh Meat, which no, yeah, it was the first Fresh Meat. That was longer than 12.
Longer than 12, huh?
I
Then
think that's when I was still in high school, so that's going back like 16, 17 years.
the first fresh meat shit. Hey,
Hang on.
Cara!
We got research on this.
Cara, what year was your fresh meat season? So that means fresh meat one was. So that means fresh meat one was before 2010.
Yeah, that's not the right one. Yeah, so it had to have been like 06, 07.
Yeah.
I
So the
said
point
I was in high school. Like,
point I'm making here is, you take that much time off, and your edit surrounds Footgate and plantar fasciitis. That's it.
that's a
That's
rough
it.
one.
That is it. And I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but I mean that is such a riveting character. Put her on every season.
They do it with Casey, and like she wishes she had Footgate.
You know what? Footgate more. I get it. You know what? I get it. The bar's set in hell.
So,
For
so this, bashing on Casey wasn't planned tonight, but because she came up, I do have a question for you. A little behind the scenes, if you'll indulge us a little bit.
yes.
So when you're brought in to do your confessionals, like, would they ever ask you, Paulie, who has been a focal point of pretty much every episode that you've ever been on, would they ever ask you to sum up what the elimination is? Or do they know, or like Daly, or do they know to leave those to like Casey? Because that was her bread and butter confessional was, Casey,
They
why don't you describe what happened out there?
Yeah, let me tell you something. The way my interviews go is, so what did you think of this? And that's it. That's really all you need to give me. It's really all you need to give me. I'll go off on a tangent, and then like they got to rope me back in and be like, all right, we got enough on that. Now what's this next? Give us your opinion on this, and then I'm off on a tangent again. And that kind of like this podcast.
Yeah.
Go off on a tangent. You got to rope me back in, and then we're good. Yeah, the description interviews are left for the people who, you know, that's their bread and butter.
I've been saying that for years on this podcast. That's the Casey special of, we need you. She's going deep this season. We got to give you something so you remember that she's there. And because she didn't go deep this season, she didn't even get that.
Well, here's the thing. I like Casey. I know Casey. Casey's got that spiciness. She's got that fire in her. She does. I know she's got it. But I don't think she ever wants to be the one caught slipping in an interview, because she does play a very good social game, as boring as it may be. There's a reason why she makes it deep majority of the time. You know what I mean? She plays a very flawless social game. With that, it sacrifices the spicy confessionals. Now, I don't know. I feel like no comment. We'll move past that. I just I don't know. I just feel like on the guys' side of things, Like if you're that kind of character, you're never asked back again.
No, and that was always it
You know
was
what I mean?
weird.
Because like on the guy's side, right?
Hmm.
You got to compete with confessionals against people who've been there forever, like Johnny, like CT, like Wes, right? If Darrell's there, now you're competing with him. If Jordan's there, now you're competing with him. Like if Cory's there, you're competing with him. You know what I mean? So like if you're getting confessionals and if you're making a lot of, storyline happen, like you're up there. Like we're on the girls' side, it's like, we even see it a little bit like this season, right? Like, Kara's playing a little bit of a CT style game, which is great, right? It's great. She's fucking making it after that first elimination. She's been coasting. But when she's not in fucking fight or flight mode, like, like Michelle and Tori and, the whole alliance with Rachel Aviv and Jenny have been trying to kind of keep up that female entertainment side of things, and it's done all right, but it's like it's not the same as like when Kara is sitting there being the focal point of like nobody's on Twitter is talking about the beef that's going on
Yeah,
between these ones, whereas like on War of the Worlds 2, like
it was.
fucking her and Laurel were out ahead, then her and Tori were out ahead, right? It's like you got me and Bananas out ahead, then you got me and Jordan out ahead, right? But there was like just that polarizing back and forth, just non-stop. And now it's like, even on the guys' side of things, it's like Bananas ain't beefing with nobody, he's beefing with the girls because there's no guys beefing with them.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
no. This season it's showing because I know there, from the fans, there were a bunch of people that were disappointed that this is the first time that we're seeing Jenny back since she won on Total Madness. But unfortunately, it's just like she's a good competitor, but from the entertainment aspect, we're seeing it this season. Maybe exactly why she hasn't been asked back
Yeah.
because she's not exactly a confessional warrior by any means.
Jenny's boring.
She is.
Like she's just a monster of a competitor. She's just boring though.
No, which is it's what makes it upsetting because it's her and Casey are both that. It's just like we don't have many of it'd be like Cara, her back's against the wall, the Amandas, or if you just want to talk about champs, like the Ashleys of the world. They haven't found. I mean, Ashley is the last new version of like for the show of new spicy character that's also really good with the drama point of view. And it's
Mhm.
like at Ashley, like we're talking a decade now. We haven't really gotten that the next Ashley, the next Amanda, anything like that since. And
What's
I think
crazy?
that's why it's suffering so much on the female side when it comes to the entertainment.
Well, what's crazy though is we have gotten those characters on the male side.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've had those characters on the male side, but once again, for instance, I believe that the rookie classes that came to be from, I don't know, let's call it Invasion to Total Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Invasion to Total Madness. Unbelievable. Nice tits. Trying to focus here. Um,
We can pause.
um, Lost my train of thought. From Invasion to 35, right? You had some really, really quality male rookies. Super quality. And you also had a handful of like those middle tier vets that were also quality, right? Like the Zacks, the Leroys, um, the Corys, the Jordans. Even Shane was kind of in the mix still at that point.
Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I consider Nelson
Yeah.
like, yeah, Nelson
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of there, but it's
Yeah.
like Invasion. You had the the appearance of Hunter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically coming in, and then Dirty 30 brought in like a newer wave of people. Like I'm pretty sure Tori's first season was Dirty 30, right? She
Her
came
and
in. She's
Derrick
on the
Henry.
team. Yeah, no, Derrick Henry, god awful, worst casting choices of all time. But then Vendettas, you had a solid crew of rookies. Final Reckoning, solid crew of rookies. War of the Worlds 1, probably the best crew of rookies we've ever had. And then Total Madness had another solid group of rookies come in. And that was enough of a base for me to, like, in my mind, start building out what should be the future of the show and what should turn into like the new OGs of the show, which would have been like the Jordans, the Zacks, and all those people, and kind of allow like the Bananas, the CTs, the Wesses, the Jarrells to kind of float almost into like this sage role where they're, if they're there, they're there. It's a treat. It's amazing. But when they're not there, the presence isn't really being missed, right? And I
It's
feel
like the
like
new version of like a Mark Long, where like he wasn't always around. It was great when he was, but you didn't need him season after season.
yeah, like that. And I almost feel like it's getting to a point now where, you know, with the emergence of we want OGs and all stars and all this stuff, now the lines are getting blurred again as to like where it needs to go. Like I almost feel like there needs to be a season that is specifically made for the people who want it easier, want the carnival games, want the drinking, and want the vacation, don't really want to get into fights with each other, all that shit. And then you need the other season where you don't dilute what the challenge is and what it's always been, right? In terms of these crazy things and people who are capable of doing them. And, then add in all of the other elements, right? That's just how
Hmm.
I personally feel. Like, to me, like the debate of like competition show, reality show, drama versus athleticism, it's moot. It's a dead point because all of the best characters and the main characters may not be the best athletes, but they always were the best players of the game. And they were always the ones able to win the dailies or win the eliminations or control the strategy or win the finals. And we've gotten away from that completely.
Do you think we could maybe get back to that if we went back to shorter seasons? Because you like if you just think about what it was, more in like that middle heyday of like the Rivals era. We were looking at 10, 11 episodes. That's all that it was, and we were blasting out 3 seasons a year. And so it was all right. You just need to go for what at that point it would have been like 5, 6 weeks. And I feel like you could get people to come back or not feel obligated, be like, oh, if I don't say yes to this one, there isn't going to be another season for another year. Where right now you'd have people, when they do like I remember when they did I think it was the Invasion reunion show. They were talking with Jenna about when Zach kind of messed up calling her on the phone on Rivals 3, and that was the next season that had already filmed and was done. And so they had, were just pumping out season after season, where now it's, well, we're only going to film like 1 or 2 seasons a year. And I mean, we're looking at this point that by the time you add in the reunion shows, like season 40, it's going to be on for almost 6 months. It's an insane amount of time.
So, but not even, when I think of it this way, like even when I first came on, like there really wasn't that many months off in between filming seasons. Like when you were in rotation, you only had like 2.5, maybe 3 months off. That's not enough time to stop hating somebody that you hated from the season before. So like it just kept the fire constantly freaking burnt. Now it's like you could hate somebody on a season. You've got a whole year to get over it. A whole year to get over it. Like you got to be a certain kind of fucked up to keep that fire burning for that long.
How many people can be invited to Boca Rumble between the seasons? A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. A lot. I don't know where the numbers are at now, but sitting pretty good. Sitting good.
Sitting pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, what we talked about was way better than what we saw in Elimination. Aviv goes home. And
listen, guys, just watch this podcast. Just watch this podcast, right? You'll know exactly what happened in the episode, only you'll laugh more.
Yeah. And so what? I think we're moving down to it's the final 5. So it sounds like we have we're going to lose one more guy and girl and finally head to a final.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, any quick thoughts on what do you think goes down next week with what we have Jordan, Derek and Cory as targets?
I mean, the only one that has really been consistently capable of saving themselves is Jordan. My
I
my
don't
predict,
see.
my prediction is Jordan wins the daily.
I can't tell if either he wins the daily or we already knew that him and Rachel were working together and they threw in that conversation of being number twos. Is does Johnny win it, but like Rachel wins for the females and protects him? But I mean, I'm
Or
with
Tori at this point looks so good she could go back to back.
yeah, or
You know,
Tori.
winning
So
dailies.
I'd be shocked to see Jordan in. I as ridiculous as it sounds, I think that man is somehow going to go the entire season without seeing an elimination, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah. If Jordan makes it to this final without seeing a single elimination all season, this is we said it in the beginning of the season, kind of jokingly, like it's never going to happen. But now here we are. And if he does, goes down as the greatest performance of any individual, not just because he didn't see an elimination and because he's been racking up dailies, but if he makes this final and wins, it it makes it the greatest performance in challenge history because of the level of threat he is.
Mm-hmm. It's unreal. I mean, it if he's able to pull it off, I don't know if you'd ever be able to, especially on the guy's side, put a cement for, oh, this cements him as the GOAT. But it gives you a pretty damn good argument with all the stats you can back up of he'd have, one of the best percentage, he'd have a better winning percentage on seasons than CT and Bananas. He'd have what? He'd be tied with CT, two behind Johnny, but you'd say Jordan's five or more. Yeah, and they're more impactful than given what the seasons that they won than what Johnny's were just for winning 30 and 40. You could make a pretty good case.
Yeah, I mean, how many of Johnny's wins have been non-team
So he
finals?
won the island, which nobody should have won the island because that wasn't even really like a challenge season. And they stacked the team at the end so that he could win. Him, Kenny, Derek, and Evelyn. Then he won a team final in the ruins where it was him, Kenny, and Evan and Derek. I think against like Sarah Rice and Kellyanne was all that was left on the other side. So it's like I feel pretty confident that by Jordan winning 30 and 40, that counts more than what those two wins are. Like those wins should be decreased to like half a win value, where Jordan's win should count as like one and a half, two.
Yeah, what was Jordan's first win? What season was it?
It would have been X's two with Sarah.
Okay, X is 2. Then
Then
he
the
wins
Dirty
Dirty
30.
30 with a broken femur. Then he wins 32 after, you know, going into 2 eliminations, swapping sides, and winning with CT.
Mm-hmm.
Then he wins World Champs.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wins this, then, this is another individual final.
It's
You know what I
another
mean?
individual final. And it's like if you just look at it as, all right, well, like since I get it, age is always going to play a factor, but it's like, all right, like Johnny, since Jordan has shown up, his win percentage like went off of a cliff. Now, not directly because of Jordan, but that's obviously a factor in it. It's as a beast, as much of a beast as CT is. CT, a lot of his, like 3 of his 5 wins have been on seasons that Jordan hasn't been there for. And then they have the one together and the one where he was there. So it's just you put that factor in of what he does to change the game on the men's side since he's been there. Just impressive.
Yeah, and once again, he doesn't complain when he gets targeted.
No, he doesn't
Like he
complain.
doesn't make that part of his storyline. He's just like he'll talk shit, be like, "Well, I'm the fucking best, so fuck you. I'm coming back."
Yeah, if anything, it gets him more amped up. I
It's
mean,
true.
you were on the receiving end of that, unfortunately. So,
I most certainly was. I most certainly was. I tried to break him very badly. Others broke. He never broke, and that's why I was like, Don't need to try and break him anymore. You know, he ain't gonna break.
Well, and just putting that right there, that's probably another reason that cements him as one of the greatest. Is he the only person that you could have subjected that through that wouldn't have broke? Because I mean, you even saw it happening with Bananas breaking before you sent him home.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like Jordan is literally the only one who didn't break. Like, like yeah, he it. I was able to get in everybody's head that I've ever played against in those earlier seasons, except for Jordan. But hey, at this point, I'm not in anybody's head because I haven't been there long enough from the competition side. But I think that works in my favor, except for the fact that now I'm going to be taking bullets for,
The Rumble
in
Alliance.
case Johnny wants to, cry about being bullied by girls again.
So that's why you were training with Fessy. Makes sense now.
Yes, I was
Yes.
like, you know what, Fessy, I need to be on top of my game to make sure that all this heat I'm going to be taking, I can handle
Perfect. You'll be
it.
well prepared. Well prepared. But
Well fucking
that's
prepared.
yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Anything you have going on, Paulie? Anything you need to plug?
Um, I mean, just the New Year's Eve boxing event, dude. We are at 61% of everything sold, so we're getting there. Like that's the most one of our events has ever been sold this far in advance. We usually sell out like 1 week leading up to the event or the night
Mm.
of. Now we're at over 60% of tickets sold, which is usually at this time about a month out from the event. Usually we're sitting at like 25% tickets sold, so tickets are
That's
going
awesome.
fast.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, you can check out Paulie on all the socials if you're interested in that event, as well as everything else that he has going on. But that's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next Wednesday night as well, and I think we'll have Alex joining us again. He just had a quick 1 week hiatus. But as always, we appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. And then if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts at, please like, review, rate us 5 stars. It helps us out tremendously. But I think that'll do it for us, and we will see y'all next week.
Yes, sir.